Hello everybody, my name is Troublemaker and this is Wargame Red Dragon. This is the first match of Wargame Red Dragon, and since we're in the beta, people have been mixing and matching with each other, so no definitive teams, but we'll introduce it as this. On the blue force side, we have a majority WTF team. This is Inoka, who develops mods, Griffer, who runs the BTR Flash tournaments, and Exanimus. And on the red side, we have a no-unit team of General John Banks, John Doe, and Wilfred. Now, no unit was a very, very dominant team in AirLand Battle, as was WTF. But we'll have to see what they have in store for us. So, this map is actually rather interesting. If you just look at it very clearly, this giant lake actually leaves an opportunity for an amphibious landing into Echo. You could also bring an amphibious recon all the way across here. That means that you're going to need to have something watching this lake. Preferably a helo here, which means this guy could have a helo here, and you'll both need to have counter, anti-helicopter helicopters to kind of make it a kind of a Mexican standoff. And similarly at the bottom here you have a lake, but it's not as influential. The dividing line for this map is in fact going to be right here, right down the middle. So that second lake won't matter too much. And we should see most of the fighting happening around Delta. But who knows? It can go either way. In the video. Whew. So this map being kind of one-sided and whatnot, it's going to rely very, very heavily on helicopter infantry and being very aggressive. And we're seeing an Exanimus going for hotel. And actually on ground here we have Griffer going to try and go into Delta. All the while we see Binks is actually going to go for Delta. I would say Binks is probably the strongest player on this no-unit team. And no unit already has a +4 advantage because they've captured 2 bases very, very quickly. They might move these commands after. No, actually, these commands are in great positions. Whereas the commands for WTF, mostly non-existent. There's not even a command here for golf, but it's being rallied in as we speak. And Inoka does have a Caesar out preemptively, so we're going to be seeing some pretty crazy artillery action. Of course, tube artillery, very, very good, and it's relatively easy to get some pretty good corrected shots to gain that extra vision. And look at this weird lineup here from Inoka of Iltis Milan 2s. Long range. Unfortunately, not too many targets for it, but one will go off and fire. And wow, just a lot of these Iltis Milan 2s here. Ridiculous numbers. Trying to pick off all the BTR-60 PBs. Lots of infantry here going across here. It's an amphibious landing here. Oh god, Inoka, this couldn't go much worse. Fall Skirmer is getting deployed here on the front. This could be bad news bears for Inoka here. Fall Skirmers have been deployed though. They are moving forward, trying to rush into this town desperately. This is going to be a very, very desperate struggle to get in. Now they do have ground to make up, so there's no ignoring that. And we do have some artillery support here. And this is where that Caesar's coming in, smashing this Moto Strelki, softening him up, and these Fall Skirmers are going to be successful in getting in. I have no doubt. Yes. The infantry are all down. Here comes the Humvees. Come Griffer moving along the southern flank, northern flank, whatever you want to call it. And the Fall Skimmers have in fact invaded. They've grabbed 2 bases. And here comes another giant group of riflemen, light riflemen from Griffer. Now, light riflemen do have an anti-tank weapon, which is pretty exotic. Looks like a lot of units here getting smashed. No unit just smashing through a lot of these Fall Skimmers. And yes, the infantry will in fact go down, but these Caesar blasts are getting pretty brutal. The light riflemen do move in. They have successfully moved in with some Delta Force as well. A very, very brutal, high quality Spec Ops unit. Light riflemen will stay in their position, knock out a Prizik Igla, and they will, in fact, successfully secure this with what was basically an amphibious landing. Yak, however, is going to try and ruin the day. Now, there is a way to micro around this, by the way. For people new to the game. When you see it coming, which you will have time to do, move your forces either forward or backwards. depending on where the rocket's landing. And rocket speed is as it is, you can. And Delta Force just kind of push forward, knock at these VDV-85s, and even this Prizik Igla. He wants to clear this area because this is going to be an area where there will be lots of artillery and recons. Delta Force saving the day, secure the total location. There's still a few helicopters here causing some trouble, but nothing particularly bad. Feels like the camera speed is a little bit too fast. I mean, that's just the game being played fast. So, absolutely amazing engagement here for Anoka, Griff, or Xanthus for the WTF team as they're able to successfully grab this forward location. And now they're bringing in the Mater VTS-1 and Leopard 2A4 to kind of support this, and given the terrain, this will work out pretty well. There's a nice long range here, and with the tank destroyer in tow, they should be fine. Now here comes some CH-53Gs from Anoka. These are going to land and be fruitful. And while all that was all going on, we also had another amphibious landing here by Exanimus, able to cross this river and jump in. Not nearly successful. Looks like the majority of it has been cleared out. But I'm guessing by the fact that they're in this forest, they did it pretty cost effectively. Now this group of US Marines is trying to run away, but my feel is that they should try and engage this. Actually, brilliant. He moved away just so he can get a side shot on the T-34. Absolutely brilliant. But now he's been opened up to fire on all angles and should get mowed down relatively easy here. I mean, there's a T-72 BU here. This is, you know, the creme of the Eastern Bloc crop that we're looking at. And actually, this group of US Marines is actually causing way more trouble than we ever suspect. BTR-90s, by the way, sitting around. T-34s, unfortunately, they used to be really good in AirLand Battle as for dealing with infantry, but so far they've been very lackluster and don't even cover terrain that well. They absolutely have to fire at maximum range, and in this particular encounter, they're not going to be so hot. But helicopters, sorry, not helicopters, autocannon will finish the day. And so we have a very clear line of defense here. Now, note, no unit doesn't have to have a helicopter here. John Doe has set up a helicopter for any kind of amphibious assault across this giant lake area. And I wouldn't be surprised, actually look, Navy SEALs here. So we have recon, we have spotter for this area on both sides. We have a Raven flying overhead by Gripper. Now the Raven is an SEAD fighter. This means that it has anti-radar missiles, and if there's any anti-air units with radar-guided systems, it will fire on automatically. And it's a really interesting mechanic how it all works out. It locks onto the laser signal and traces it back through the laser signal. Looks like we're seeing a minor engagement across the river here. T-34 actually spotting infantry in these towns for a little bit and getting a few shots off on them, but nothing too taxing. So now that we're into this kind of position war, we're probably going to see some artillery. I mean, already, how many Caesars do we have out? Just one, actually. Just the original Caesar from Anoka. And Caesar is insanely effective, and it looks like he's trying to artillery this giant clump of units here. And with artillery being so potent, there's two things that every person in the game has to realize. First, you have to spread your units out more often. You get morale bonuses by having clumps of 2 and 4, but you're also a higher risk of losing more. The other thing is that you have to push and move flanks. You can't just sit down and do nothing at all. That's going to be very, very problematic for you. It has become a very, very aggressive game. Now here's some MLRS, some double Uragons actually. And these are a smaller form of Smirch. And, you know, like, yeah, it's doing damage. Actually, it's doing a lot of damage. But it didn't kill a ton, not for the payload cost. It only killed, looked like a couple of empty vehicles and maybe an Idis Milan. It's very, very cost ineffective compared to these tube artilleries, which when they get a nice corrected shot do retarded damage. And that was a corrected shot with an MLRS type, which just happens to be called the Uragan. And even though they're very powerful and very abusive, they're not powerful enough to just spam. Now, here's the good thing for them. Dinks is spotting with this single BMPT. The bad news is that Anoka has put out the Tiger pad to pick it off. This is one of these newish type of weapons. It's, you know, insanely long range, very good sniping, and some suicidal helicopters here by Anoka. Tiger Hat might be able to get this radar guided autocannon type thing. Let's see. Oh my god, yes, it does. And that was really the only anti-air. And oh my god, here we go again. I'm like a kid with ADD right now. We got some sapperies. Now in AirLand Battle, this was a staunch tactic. You deploy your sapperies, you napalm the front, and then you kind of push in afterwards. And here comes a little bit of napalm that's gotten off. Now, as you can see, this kind of napalm approach is not nearly as effective as it was in AirLand Battle. That's because artillery is very, very potent at stopping these sort of things. And that's exactly what's happening here. Caesar just crushed through all the vehicles, and the sapperies are alone, and just not even able to get into range. Yak 38 pushed through, and look at this great Michael. Gripper actually able to quickly move back and move in, not losing a ton of delta force there where he should have. And that's what you gotta do. When you see those bombs coming in, slide out, slide in, and back you go. I've had one match where I dodged something like 12 bombs without losing a single unit. And then he came in with a napalm tank, and he just napalmed all the wrong areas and slowed his own advance. It was a very good game. Maybe I'll show that someday. But in the meantime, we have some cavalry tanks here moving in. Cavalry tanks, there's not a lot of them in the game. And for newer players to the game, trying to understand the concepts of the game and how it works, cavalry tanks are fast tanks. They're medium tanks. And they're designed in a philosophy... Sorry, I got that backwards. They're slow tanks. They're armored tanks. That's right. They're designed in a philosophy of tank push, in which the British envisioned a world that you'd have these slow, super heavily armored units pushing through the front, and then you had those lighter tanks in the back with artillery support. And it does work out, and oh my god, Skyhawks. Also known as the Noob Hawk, and one Noob Hawk goes down! That's good. Noob Hawks, of course, Skyhawks, of course, are very scary, because they can launch their rockets and then just boom, they're out of there just like that. And so it becomes very, very important to reduce their numbers very, very quickly so they cannot be abused. And it looks like a cavalry tank might be getting close to death. And here comes some artillery spam. Now this is a great use of the MLRS. You want to use this to prepare for an invasion, and this is exactly what he's doing. He's stunned a ton of units, he's gotten rid of a few vehicles, actually wiping out a full unit here. Pretty brutal. And now that everything's stunned, they can move in. But they didn't really time that right. Oh my god, Skyhawk again, picking off another cavalry tank. Unfortunately, the counter damage was far, far too high. And Group de Combat, or Group de Commandant, being forced to move here. Is he moving into the artillery? It looks pretty damn close. Will settle here. This is kind of funny. So Inoka has chosen to put the command along this weird border as an infantry instead of a town, which is really bizarre. But the reason is because he's not playing with scrubs. He's playing with really great players, and they will know where every single possible command location is. And so you have to go for these really non-standard ones. Here comes a Leclerc from Inoka, really favoring a lot of heavy tanks here. And here comes some more infantry now. Just, you know, if we rewind a little bit, which we can't, because this is Wargame Red Dragon, the MLRS that hit right here stunned all these units. If this sappery would have came in the same time as that MLRS hit, this sappery would have done insanely high amounts of damage. Instead, they pruned out like 10, 20 points of units for 10, 20 units worth of supplies, so it didn't work out so hot for them. But in the meantime, we're looking at lots of follow screamers going down. Sappery's getting picked off very, very quickly. Here comes another side flank here of infantry as they continue to try and approach us. Oh my god, one vehicle gets knocked out and it's only 10 modal strategies left. Just not enough to engage. You should push back with this. This is not even nearly enough to engage. We're going to see some artillery hitting some random locations, just trying to find commands, because this is, of course, Conquest, which is a game of commands. WTF's team are +1 right now, which is very, very good, and they're going to be very solid. Leclerc is coming in, will be covering this bridge, which means that from this point on, any kind of push in here will need severe AT. Oh my god! Did you see that, MiG-27? Inoka must be so mad. the Leclerc is like a 180-point tank. Like, you don't just lose this thing. It is brutal. Oh, Burrotino, otherwise known as the Burrito, and the fire is everywhere. And cleaned out 1 infantry unit, but more seem to be on the way. There's 15 U.S. Marines slowly walking away. And there's also 2 commands here, 2 group commands here. Yes, so 1 might go in a town. They just need to secure this area. With all the artillery being the way it is, you don't want to lose a random unit to a random artillery. That would just suck. And once again, just patrolling these Ravens, trying to pick off any anti-air. Now, good players like No Unit are going to have their anti-air weapons turned off. And if you look at this Tunguska, it does have 1 radar weapon, and I guarantee you, it is turned off. And they only use them when they can kill, when they can get a pretty good shot off. And might actually be able to successfully engage this after all the MLRS, after all the Burrotino. It looks like they might be able to come in, and the line of sight created by the fire, and by the way, yes, napalm does in fact cause line of sight, is actually going to be good enough for this Moto STRELA to jump in here and engage this SMA directly. Now the US Marines do have a choice. They can move across and try and contest this, or they can stay on the side and play more defensively. And these SMAs shouldn't have a chance. They should not have a chance in hell. There's just so few of them, and a little bit of late artillery there. Oops. And what? We just saw a ton of units die to artillery here. Tunguska is still alive. Thank God. All hail Tunguska, Lord of Tunguska. And actually the SMA is being used to occupy this zone to remove the siege bonus, as the US Marines are not really being moved forward. Maybe there are some pretty weird microing bugs in the game so far. But more US Marines running across, stunned, and BTR-ADA with the insanely long autocannon gunning it down. Moto STRELA should be able to clean up this area. US Marines finally moving up, maybe a little bit late. And Fall Skirmjager are moving. I should learn this, considering that it's going to be a very common infantry unit in this game. Fall Skirmjager are still not in a position to help. And look at the weird line of sight here. It's very weird. It took a long time for these units to move in position, and you can see them firing here because I guess they were over here, and that's not vision because there's a thing in the way. It looks like, why yes, they're either shooting through this building or it's bouncing off. Look at the weird deflection angles here. Right? Magic bullet theory? Am I the only one who knows the magic bullet theory? Like, that's totally a thing. Yeah, they're bouncing. I'm pretty sure it's just a graphical bug, but, you know, that's kind of funny. I'm sure it has no effect. Oh my god! The greatest napalm of all time has been landed on all these T-34s that were rushing forward, and they're taking 50% HP. MLRS joining in the fray, stunning them in place in the napalm. That is absolutely brutal, but there's another flank here of T-34s rushing in. So not able to stop all of them, just a lot of them. And SMAs getting a nice few cleave shots. Fall skirmers will be able to get some good back shots here, maybe? Yes. And this T-34 ball by John Doe, you know, despite him losing a lot, is actually proven to be very effective. He's actually been able to get through, but here comes Weasel Toe 2 by Anoka. Actually smashing through this, trying to go for infantry carriers, but will he trade here or not? These T-34s are 10 points each. These Weasel Toes are 50 points each. The T-34s have actually engaged. This is very, very bad for Anoka's unit composition. Stuns himself with his own artillery. These T-34s have got to start firing on these Weasels. And bombs away. Well, airplane crash away. And all T-34s actually down. The Weasels actually survive, which is shocking. Very, very shocking. And with the amount of napalm here, it's going to be hard, very, very hard for anything to move across this river. In fact, they're all just kind of sitting and waiting for the napalm to move. This is going to give the very clear opportunity that the WTF needs now. Oh, Avenger goes down, that's an anti-air. Here comes the Humvees getting picked off by his BMP key. Still very strong, by the way, and the Shmaj will not quite make it they will get picked off by the BMPTs. And, you know, so sad. So sad, look at them. This guy died on the bridge. So sad. More infantry coming in. The BMPT does get picked off. But these Humvees still have the cavalry tanks to deal with. And lots of infantry finally coming in. The napalm did clear up. SU-275 are going to try and do a little bit of a bomb on something random. That was random. Still have control though. The group de commandant still have this. And the weird thing is, oh, this is totally weird. So, the biggest reason, okay, I should have mentioned this before. The biggest reason why these infantry are here is because of the river. If you have your units close to a river, there is a less chance of the artillery actually hitting a unit because the units are not in the river, and it's just playing the numbers game. Like, it's just like this Chaparral, like he's right next to the river too. He could be moved up closer to the front, but he's choosing not to. He's choosing to sit by that river. It's really weird and funky. But a lot of people are playing like that, so you know, shouldn't judge. And actually, this TOW has been able to push back this whole flank here, and the Fern Spear actually. What's this spot here? Does he spot the Tor? He does. So we could see some Caesar fire on that Tor very soon. The Tor, of course, brand new unit. That's a Chinese anti-air unit, and it's absolutely exceptional. Now, with the amount of napalm coming down here, it's very, very hard for no units to move in. And given that WTF can't actually get in here because of line of sights, I mean, these guys fire here, you know, and here, and they can't get anything across this bridge happily. They have to go through this route, which is much longer, or they can do amphibious again. So we'll have to, you know, see what they have in store, because this tank ball here is kind of a problem. And unfortunately, they haven't really deployed anything that can take it yet, that can deal with it. And we're about to see another Bertino fire here by John Doe. Super, super close range, so we're going to see some pretty crazy shots here. Interested to see where he fires it to. This bridge would be a very, very opportune location, as would this bottom bridge here, just because these are the reinforcement points. And if you can put those on fire, knock the availability of them being used out, that would be very, very good. He might also go for more infantry kills, which is also good. It's hard to say. I mean, specifically because there's no unit loadout so much. And I'm actually going to use napalm to knock at these guys. Now keep in mind, this is line of sight, so while this is down, they can do that. And what are they going for? They're going for the bridge. So that's a good choice. That's an absolutely great choice. And by napalming at this bridge, it means this bridge is knocked out. It means they're forced to use this bridge, which means that they can come off with tanks. That's just smart. That's just good play. It would have been better if there were actually units crossing that bridge and they actually had vision of it, but that's fine too. And there's actually a command here by Wilfred locking out this delta point, and this is caused... Oh, wow. Command here got smashed. That is brutal. So +2 momentarily for no unit. They're forced to pull back this command. Napalm's so good, but just look at the fast reflexes. They knew the napalm was coming, and what did Wilfred do? He pulled it out right away. Now he's going to go back, cancel at that point. You know, he's not playing bad. And lots of infantry here have been able to get forward. In the meantime, while this napalm was out, they were able to field a lot of infantry and take back this position. So some very smart tactical plays here by WTF in holding this position. No unit, you know, they need to come up with a stronger infantry count. I think that might be their biggest weakness. Right now, they're just not fielding enough infantry to hold these towns. They're only fielding enough to kind of like make it so that things could be better. So yeah, here comes a Skyhawk, also known as the Noob Hawk, and there's a Fern Spear spotting this, I'm almost certain. Yes, he is. Skyhawk goes down, but does he? He got a stun, and he crashed, like, right next to the vehicle. Swear to God, this is the closest you can possibly get to destroying it without destroying it. When a plane crash lands on something, it destroys it. Same thing is true of helicopters. And he's actually full on pulling out, not wanting to do that again. Maybe gonna go back in? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he has to know something's up. You can't have two shots like that over and over. And here comes a Nighthawk. This, as well as 2 Superintendents here by Anoka. This could be the end of that command. And fire is going off on the Tor. He's actually picked off the Tor. That's the Chinese anti-air weapon we were talking about, and a stun on the command here by the Nighthawk. And he'll move back into position, just slow, precise, not panicking. And as both players are artillerying this field, oh, we're seeing smoke deployed. This is fascinating. In the past, he's used napalm as his obscuring vision thingamabobber, and this time he's trying to obscure vision with smoke, which is, you know, closer to a WTF style of play. But here we go, BTRs running forward. We have 40 infantry gonna pop out. They're all gonna be mortar strela keys, and there's a BTR-680A here with super long range attacks. And the other group will come in. Now with this napalm being the way it is, it's going to be very hard for them to engage, and they're going to turn the numbers on their side. All he's got to do is land here, and he's going to have a side flank on these US Marines. Yes, he does. And now he's hitting from 2 corners. Here comes another group. Oh my god, napalm. That was brutal. Oh my god, that timing could not have been worse. And another intruder coming in. What's he going to do? Actually going to go for the BMP 685s. Good choice, good shots, and yeah, this is probably like the most high rated match that's been played so far this beta. Inuka Griff or No Unit Thinks are all people who have all been in the tournament scene. Exenimus, John Doe, Wilfred, not so much. But maybe they will be in this particular scene. And just the amount of napalm here is ridiculous. Like, they don't quite cover the bridge, and this BTR-80A is amphibious. But dear god, like, there's absolutely not going to be much of a way to reinforce this push. All the while, we have the ERA coming in, the M60A1 ERA. Going to do a little bit of damage to some of these vehicles and microing away, not wanting to sacrifice any goats today. And these US Marines actually getting a pretty massive hit to their morale. But with the low morale one gone, they're back being calm. And once again, just weird issues here. You know, they can't fire on each other because they don't have vision. It's a really weird issue. They're right next to each other, but they don't see each other. Maybe Recon Infantry will have a new feature, new function. By the way, it looks like counter artillery has happened. Caesar here from Anoka, in fact, didn't go down. And counter artillery is not new. It was done very commonly in European escalation. Basically never happened in the AirLand Battle. And getting rid of Caesar that big is huge. Superintendent, what did you kill? What did you kill? It's like maybe a cavalry tank of some sort. And look at these players being deployed. Is it enough for him to get away? And looks like he does. Huh. Players, of course, really only work on infrared because they're to distract heat seeking. And yes, I know I've been focusing a lot on this battle. I'm sure there's more stuff happening, like why this recon helicopter is all the way up here, or you know, how basically there's been nothing added to this flank since, but there has been to this flank, and there's little things happening. But this is the main battle theater for these two guys. And look at how many freaking artillery units we're seeing here. John Doe with 3, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 artillery here. 9 artillery for no unit. And when you look at the WTF, they basically have no artillery. So that's kind of telling, you know. We have 3 minutes left. No unit is half of the score of WTF. And yet WTF isn't spamming artillery. Like, they're winning with, you know, other means. There's nothing cheap about this win. There's nothing they can yell cheater. Artillery isn't, in fact, overpowered. It is powerful. which is completely different. Overpowered means that it is so powerful that it breaks the game. That's not the case. It is only powerful enough that it is useful. It is not so powerful that it wins every game for you. And here's going to be a final hurrah, a giant MLRS that kills most of everything, but actually never killing enough units. And that's really the problem with these artillery units. If you get corrected shots and you get a lot of kills, they're very, very cost effective. If you're using them kind of randomly and sporadically, spamming them, you're gonna have a bad day. And we look at the supplies here, like they've been spamming. They are out of FOBs. They have this one left and that's it. Whereas when you look at WTF, they don't even have an FOB. They haven't actually been relying on these artillery. So it's a little bit refreshing here by WTF, using an approach that doesn't rely on artillery at all. They rallied with that one Caesar, and then never, ever, ever used the artillery again. They relied on tanks, they relied on aircraft, they relied on infantry, and they didn't stack a support deck. They used those units for other things. So 1 minute, 45 seconds left. Unfortunately, right now, for no unit to win this, they need to smash. They need to seriously do some crazy smashing. 2-point bases both have to go. Actually, everything has to go. They just don't have enough time. So yeah. Now the awkward moment. Well, I guess since I'm casting alone, I can just slide it ahead. The game's been decided, by the way. It took them too long to break through. Would be my endgame conclusion. It took them far long to break through. They invested too much in artillery and not enough in infantry to help grab this area, and they were never able to grab a proper foothold. And in fact, as this goes down and move, +1 bleed happened at the end for +200. Now looking at the kills and the losses here, you would think that WTF should have lost. They lost a lot of units. They lost a lot of infantry and a lot of vehicles. Those were all deaths caused by artillery, or as some people refer to them as skilltillery. But they didn't have a big impact on the general strategy of the game, which is completely different. I don't know why I'm talking like this. So congratulations to WTF. This was just a friendly game, nothing super serious, and that's my first cast for Red Dragon, people. I'll see you guys next week for another one.